Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your girl JoJo, and I am here with the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 10. I think we're on episode 3. Yeah, I missed episode 2, y'all. Sorry, we just getting started, and here I am with the foolishness. But episode 2 was a key, child. That Marquez is something crazy. I would get away from him. I would get so far away from him. I just do not understand. Him and Tisha both, neither one of them is wrapped too tight. So I actually can see how they ended up with each other. But, child, he is not nobody I would want to be around. When Ken looked at him and said, bottom line is, them your kids, but this my family. Marquez is like, what's family? What's family? He couldn't get none of it together. And why was the friend there talking? That's how I know Tisha not wrapped tight. Why she bring that friend back? That friend should have been at home. But, child, I was just like, Marquez, just go ahead and make your exit, baby. But we're gonna talk about some things involving Ken on today and Tisha and Marquez when we get to the end of the show. But I'm telling you, I was going. All right. We're gonna talk about it later. But I will say, Ken trying to squabble up in front of them kids, knowing them kids was in the house, knowing Marquez, really, I don't think he about that life. Marquez look like he fight dirty, like he got a knife in his shoe. I don't think all of that was needed. I don't think antagonizing. Marquez is crazy. He don't need no help. You get what I'm saying? In letting that crazy come out. You just sit there and just watch him, and he'll just slowly let it leak out. I don't think they needed to do all of that. So for him to say the kids ain't traumatized, them kids is something. Because if I saw my parents about to squabble, I'm gonna have a little trauma. All y'all getting on my nerves. Y'all, at this point, baby, send me to the home if y'all gonna be doing all this. Okay. Ooh, I'm driving, y'all. Okay, so first we get Kimmy and Maurice. We get Kimmy arranging a meetup for the girls because the streets say that these ladies got a lot going on. And I really hate when they do stuff like this. The streets said, and the streets have been talking, and the streets. Y'all is the streets. Y'all is Instagram. Those are the proverbial streets. But whatevs. So anyway, Kimmy's getting the ladies together so that they can meet up and, try to force each other to discuss their personal business because they need it for the show. But first, we got Kimmy and Maurice sitting down, and I really have always hated how Kimmy treats Maurice with the kid gloves. Like, she talks to him like she is scared to inflame him in some kind of way. Well, babe, I was at Jalen's house the other day, like he's like my new little best friend or whatever. And that does happen as your kids get older. I'm really proud of Jalen. And they started talking about the family type business they want to have together and how Jalen is not even sure if he wants to be a part of that. Actually, nobody's sure they want to be a part of it, and it's mainly because of Maurice. Maurice is trying to run a dictatorship, saying he wants to do this for family legacy, but all he doing is pointing at everybody, telling them what they need to do, and his work is not really there. Like, what are you doing besides pointing at everybody else and telling them what they need to do? And there's just some opportunities that have been lost here. They start talking about Jalen and his male influences and how Jalen really sees Marceau as more of a father figure than he sees Maurice. Maurice is hurt by this. He feels like he made a misstep somewhere, but he's not hurt enough because he goes on the defense, in my opinion, the rest of the episode when it comes to this situation with Jalen. And it's no surprise that Jalen does see Marceau as more of a father figure because he's worked with him. And personally, I think Kimmy sees Marceau as more of a husband figure, but that's just, that's some tea for later. But they have that conversation, and I think Maurice has said he's going to speak to Jalen about that later because he hates that Jalen feels that way. Oof, child. These girls is dry. I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but I don't know who these women are. No, seriously. These girls are dry. They are so dry. I mean, you ain't even got to have a lot of drama going on in your life to be able to have an interesting conversation. Maybe because they're not really friends, it's happening like that. But you know what? I've watched plenty of shows where the ladies are not really friends. They need to do activities. They don't need to go to dinner. This scene reminded me of, have y'all ever been in a meetup group of any sort? I've been in several. And sometimes you'll meet up with a group of women. Like, I met up with a group of women last month, a ball. Like, we met up for brunch and messed around, and pretty much the whole group, for the most part, stayed out all night, like till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and had a good time. But there are occasions where I will meet up with a group of women and it just do not flow. The conversation is very stiff. We're trying to talk to each other and it's not flowing. It's rare, but I've definitely been around some meetup groups where it's just not the fit. It's just not the one. And that's what this little table reminded me of. I think maybe the ladies have maybe too much bad blood between them, or things have been said. There's things they need to clear the air on. But the atmosphere was very stiff. Overly complimentary in the beginning. That's usually a pretty good sign that something's not being said. Like, oh, girl, you look good. Oh, girl, you look. Oh my God, girl, when you be doing too much. That's usually a pretty good sign that something is awry in the group. I guess Kimmy is gonna be the new one to run the girls, to get the girls together. Is she gonna run the girls? Who's gonna be running the girls? Tisha, you can tell she wanna be the one to run the girls. She got commentary for everything. But maybe they gonna use Kimmy because I guess they feel like she's a neutral party. Trish says that she knows she needs to get to know the girls a little better. Whatever. I think these ladies are a lot more interesting in a storyline with their husbands and their family. It's some women like that. They can't pop on their own. They need a little help. I ain't one of them, thank God. So anyway, they try to have this dinner. Trisha brings up her situation first because, of course, they like, okay, what's been going on? Let's catch up. Let's do this. Let's do that. Tell us what's been going on. Who got something? So Trisha doesn't mind going first, and she got plenty of stuff going on in her household with her family. And she tells them about the squabble with Ken and Marquez and the kids and all of that. And then Trisha, if you would have got this divorce a long time ago, we wouldn't be dealing with none of this. So really, we need to be looking at your ass. When it's time for Kimmy to start, Kimmy says, well, I don't got a bunch of drama in my house. You see what I'm saying? Like, some things just don't need to be said. And that's why a lot of you hoes don't got no friends. Because you don't never know when to not throw some shade. You always got to throw something. And then when I come, I'm shady too. So I can't even talk about me. But I got some friends that's not shady. They just gonna come directly at you. Directly. And Kimmy, there are some things we could say to you directly that are very mean, and I got some friends that would do it. Just from you throwing that little something. You gonna say it wasn't shade, but yeah, you didn't have to say that. All you had to do was say, okay, well, in my world, let me tell y'all what's going on. You could have just brought it directly to you. That's why I don't like you. Boy, that's why I'm very selective about who I made friends with. I take friendship very seriously. You got one time, I promise you'll never hear from me again. I'm too good of a friend anyway to ever waste it on somebody that's gonna try me. Now, let me get to it. I'm sorry. Kimmy brings up the situation with Jalen and Maurice, and Tisha don't make it no better by saying, Marcel do always say that's his oldest son. And I noticed that Maurice made a statement to Kimmy when they were sitting by the fire. You handle each child differently. You don't. I've heard parents say that before. You raise each child differently, or you treat each child differently. I think what parents mean is every child does not require the same things in regards to maybe even discipline, or maybe like staying on top of them about stuff. Because I know me and my siblings are not the same when it comes to certain things. Like, so yes, you may handle each child differently, but the responsibilities, I believe, should be the same. Because if not, then it starts to look like you playing favorites. And so I didn't enjoy that Maurice was doing. But yeah, she talks about that and how certain things need to be had, conversations need to be had. She also talks about the whole business thing, the family thing, how ain't nobody really sure about doing that with Maurice, because they know how Maurice can get. When they get over to Nell, because you know they want to get in Nell's business, Nell is really Tisha is the one getting it going, right? And so when Nell called Tisha Letitia Scott Esquire, I hollered, because she was asking her a lot of questions like, oh, because I was giving you the side eye. I was talking to Kimmy and I was telling Kimmy, I don't like nobody on this show, but I really do not like her. But Tisha, is that her name? Yeah. She has a tendency, she's been doing this since season 1. Instead of directly saying how she felt about something, she always got to bring somebody else into it. Y'all ever notice that? Oh, I was talking to Kimmy, and yeah, I was telling Marceau, I was talking to this person, I was talking to what was going on in your own mind without mentioning nobody else? You can tell me. You don't have to tell me you was talking about me in a side conversation. Tell me how you felt. That's all you need to do, baby. That's what grown-ups do. So, she tell Nell she was side-eyeing her because you was having your son dating Destiny and you knew he had a baby on the way. Nell said she didn't know he had a baby on the way. She didn't know the other one had a baby on the way. They end up having their babies 5 months apart. If she had known, she, wouldn't have promoted them dating. She really didn't want them dating really in the first place. She kind of just came around to it, and that's something that she tells her husband in an earlier scene, that now that all this has transpired, she does feel like maybe her and Destiny need to have a conversation. And Nell, quit saying you counsel people through something. Oh, I counseled her. You ain't no. Is Nell a counselor? Spiritually or otherwise? You ain't counsel nobody. You talk to them. I don't know why people think just because they got some age on them, they automatically is due for mentorship. No. You ain't always got to be somebody's mentor. You don't always need to have a mentee. Okay? Sometimes you just sit and chat it up. That's fine. But later on, she says she wanted to talk to Destiny about, the situation. So I guess that's what they're going to do. But Destiny was not at this dinner, so they won't have the opportunity to do it there. All right? But Tisha is further getting into the situation with her, asking her questions like, you're a grandma now. You're a grandma. They got 2. And back to back, you got just... Oh my gosh, she just carrying on. And Nell, you can tell Nell is just like, well, damn. Like, I mean, what all do you want to know? How much do you want to know? And I don't remember how it, oh, yes, I do remember. Kimmy does make some type of comment about the things that she heard Chris Fletcher had said. And Nell says, I would have to talk to him about that. I know Chris don't got a problem with Maurice. And it did bother her. She said that Maurice felt some type of way about it. So it's something she's going to talk to him about. And that brings in other feelings that Nell may have, maybe possibly against them. But instead of saying it directly, it's a lot of like underhanded talk. Like, well, I feel like if somebody got a problem, like that kind of talk going on. And Nell is just like, listen, if I got a problem with anybody, you are going to know it. I definitely will let you know. You're not going to have to question it. And I can appreciate somebody like that. But Nell says she want to get to know everybody better, I guess. I don't know if I believe Nell, but she say that's what she want to do. Trisha say she want to do the same thing. I believe Trisha does, really. And then Nell comes over to Tisha and asks her, how did y'all feel about that interview that Martell did with the girl? And Kimmy says that she basically was just like, child, please, even if it was true, the way you did it, like, shut up, Kimmy. Tisha, after getting in everybody's business and commenting on everybody's business, she gonna turn around and be like, me and my husband did an Instagram Live, and that's how I felt about it. You can go watch the Instagram Live. Like, she immediately is shutting it down. She was asking that, well, how do you feel about it? I'm just like, you got your nerve trying to get defensive when you was asking all kind of questions about her grandbaby and saying how you felt, and you was giving her the side eye. But now, see, this is... Oh my gosh. I don't know how. That's all I'm going to say. But now she getting defensive and saying people can go watch the Instagram Live. I ain't watching your Instagram Live, girl. F you. F you and Marceau with his hips. But forget both of y'all. I'm not finna watch your tongue-tied Instagram Live. So there's that. Yeah, but these girls not really bringing it. Trisha having a Western party, and she's talking about, Neil, you can wear your cowboy hat. That's not a cowboy hat. But you hoes don't know fashion, so whatever. All right. Unfortunately, I did not get the screen grab for this portion. And if you hear the elements, I am outside doing the rest of this review. So I didn't get the screen grab, but Jalen and Maurice end up having a conversation. I felt bad for Jalen because I could tell he was having a really hard time trying to verbalize how he felt without ticking Maurice off. And so that just makes me wonder if everybody in that house is moving and shaking according to Maurice's moves. I could be off about that, but I don't know. I felt like Jalen was having a hard time, but maybe he has a hard time expressing himself in general. That could definitely be the case. So anyways, Jalen ends up telling Maurice after Maurice, confronts him about what he knows, the conversation him and Kimmy had. Jalen basically tells Maurice that, he didn't really feel like he was much of a father figure. He kind of saw him as the homie. And so Maurice, of course, asks, well, did you feel loved any less? Did you feel any less love? Did you feel any? He was just like, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm not your blood son. Monster is your blood. So, yes, I did in some ways feel like you loved him more. And Maurice makes the point that, Jalen first makes the point that, for example, I could be playing the game and you would tell me to do something like Monster wasn't sitting there playing the same game. It seems like y'all put a lot more on me than y'all did on him. Like, you came at me a different way than you came at him. I also don't know if about this family business thing because I don't know if I want to work with you. Are you gonna, everybody has the same idea. Is Maurice gonna be doing any work or is he just gonna be giving orders? So when he says the thing about the differences between him and Monster, Maurice makes the comment that you parent each child differently. Yes and no. Every child does not need the same thing. There's some kids, you don't have to fuss at them. There's some children, you don't have to discipline them physically. There's some kids that require a little bit more, threatening or punishment or whatever. You have to tell them more than once. So yes, you do, based on the personality of the child, yes, you do parent them differently, but responsibility should remain the same. When it comes to responsibilities and what you're teaching them, that should be the same across the board. It shouldn't be you handling one differently based on whether it's age or whether whatever. It should still be teaching responsibility at the appropriate ages and appropriate levels in time. It shouldn't be oldest child do everything, youngest child we're a little more lenient on. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of gathered what he was saying, but I felt like he was using it as an excuse. And I don't really think he was trying to hear Jalen. And we find out later he definitely wasn't during that conversation with Marceau and Tisha. But yeah, the conversation just doesn't go well. Maurice doesn't listen. He's always talking. He always wants to talk. He never really wants to hear what the other person is saying. He goes on to say, the beautiful thing about coming into a child's life is that you chose that child. I chose you. I chose to be a part of your life. You were already here. Da, 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 da. It sounds good in theory. But in doing that choosing, I need you to act like you chose me and not act like I'm your burden or I should be lucky to have you. Somebody told me that one time, you are lucky to have. I'm not lucky to have. Let me tell you something. They lucky to have me. Okay. I didn't ask for no new fathers and cousins and aunts around here. They the lucky ones. What you thought this was? Anyway. But yeah, y'all, that was the combo. Let's go to the next thing. Call me slackered. I didn't get the screen grab for this either. Ken ends up having a conversation with one of his friends, right? And the friend is going in, okay, about, is Chris Fletcher, I forget that other guy's name, Chris Fletcher people, and then one of Ken's friends. And I was on the friend's side. At first, I thought he was doing too much, but then I was just like, you know what? He right. He basically was just saying, you doing all of this with Trish. You going through all of this stuff. You about to fight these kids, daddy. The kids don't need to be seeing that. And sometimes I feel like it's a challenge for you. Like, you like to put broken people together. And Ken tries to relate it to a puzzle. Like, you got the puzzle and you got all the pieces. It's just about fitting them in the right place. He said sometimes all the pieces not in the box. And then what do you do about that? And yeah, friend wasn't wrong. Because think about it, ladies. If we had a homegirl and our homegirl had been with this man who was already married and had children, who for whatever reason had not yet got a divorce, knew I wanted to marry them, okay, knew your homegirl wanted to marry them, he still hadn't got a divorce, and she ended up fighting his baby's mama / current wife, still on paper, end up fighting and squabbling with them in front of the kids, you gonna tell your homegirl, please let this man go. So I understood his friend's frustration. I've been listening to you talk about this situation with this girl for a long time. Now, granted, apparently Marquez wasn't in the picture for a while, so I guess they were moving and grooving without any disruption. But why hadn't she got a divorce is my thing. Okay, if you want to be with me, clear all that up. Clear your baggage up. So I understood what the friend was saying, and I understood his frustration. And I think Ken know he right, but at this point, he ain't leaving this girl. He done put too much time in. And lastly, the show pretty much ends on a to be continued. Marsau, Maurice, Tisha, Kimmy, they get together for dinner. I was side-eyeing Kimmy for this. I was side-eyeing both of them, but I was side-eyeing Kimmy because they end up talking about the situation with Jalen. It gets brought up. And Marceau is playing semantics. He was like, I don't think he said I was a father figure. I think he said he looks at me. He didn't say he looks at me like a dad. He didn't say that. He said he looks at me like a father figure. Very similar, Marceau. Let's not play semantics here. But he was trying to make it more comfortable for Maurice. But Maurice wanted to keep it going. So he said, oh, Jalen came to you? Jalen came to you about the housing stuff? He came to you about the rental? He was like, yeah, he came to me for some advice. Yeah. What is the problem? And he was just like, I've been wanting us to go all into business together. And Marceau said, who? He said, me, Kimmy, Jalen, and Monster. He said, Monster, yeah. Let's talk about that. Because Jalen had confided in Marceau that he gets treated differently from Monster. He doesn't feel like he gets the same leeway. Okay, he used the term leash, but really what he meant, I don't get the same leeway. I don't get the same freedoms that Monster gets. Okay, they got me on a tight leash. They got him on a loose one, basically. And, he talks to Marceau about it. And Marceau is trying to get Maurice to understand, like, yeah, I understand how that feels. I can relate. He feels like, Monster is the golden child. And I can relate because I felt like I was living with the golden child. And why he say that, child? Maurice go tell him, you sound like Chris Fletcher, sir. And this is how I know you do dramatics all the time, because when was one like the other? Never. And Marceau is like, you sound crazy. Like, you're not making any sense right now. And we're sitting here trying to talk to you and tell you how Jalen feels. And you're starting every sentence with but. You're trying to defend your point. You're not trying to listen, and that's your problem. You always talking. Now, regardless how we feel about Marceau, when he right. Now, he right about this one. And I side-eye Kimmy because Maurice has admitted, Kimmy has admitted that she noticed that Maurice was treating Jalen differently. She noticed that he was a little more harsh with him and, kind of buck with him, and really not the same with Monster, a little bit more tender and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, and you allowed that to happen? You've been knowing how Jalen feels about this situation. And as a mother, what have you done? Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not one of those people that think a stepdad shouldn't have any say-so or shouldn't be allowed to necessarily discipline. I believe those things should be discussed. But at no point in time do I think the child should be completely uncomfortable watching you engage with another child and noticing that you treat that child differently on my watch, and I'm not saying nothing. And so I'm looking at Kimmy like, you want this man at all costs. And I'm telling you, that is when I started to, she used to be my favorite on the show. But once I realized how she kowtows with Maurice, all while trying to be, because I keep it real. I say what's on my mind. I do this, I do that. You ain't none of that. You ain't none of that. Because you letting Pillsbury Doughboy run you around and look a fool on television. It's just way more covert. And I don't respect none of it. So that's why I stopped liking her a little bit, amongst other reasons. I think Kimmy is messy and I think she's shady. She's just not that. She not that. She the type of woman that'll talk you through the pain of your divorce and then be sitting around talking to her husband, telling all your business, telling every detail of your divorce, talking about what you didn't do in the house, how we wasn't having sex, how you wasn't cooking and cleaning, and that's why that man left you, and then come back the next day and hold your hand while you cry. Nah, she's sneaky. I don't like it. Anyway, they end on an argument. Maurice ain't listening. He don't want to hear what nobody got to say. I think he know he wrong. But, yeah, And he don't care that Jalen don't see him as a father figure. He do not care. Only reason he care now is because he don't get to boss hog and be bossy and be a dictator. If Jalen leaves and goes to Colorado, who he gonna boss around? Monster? That ain't enough. He need more people on the staff. And Jalen, you need to go to Colorado. Go, baby. It's good to get away from your hometown for a little bit. Jesus had to leave Nazareth. It's good to get away. So anyway, y'all, this review wasn't that great, and it's late too, so I'm gonna put it up though. Because, it's slack, but it's still consistent. I think I'm going to look at maybe doing the new Houston show. I watched it. It was cute. Hustle and Soul, Heart and Hustle, one of them. But if you see the review, you see it. If you don't, you don't, okay? But if I got time, I'm going to try to get it off tomorrow. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see y'all for the next one. Bye.